The Haunted Orphanage. Prologue, Whispers of the Past. At the edge of the town of Ravensmoor stood an orphanage, long abandoned and cloaked in legend. Known as Blackthorn Manor, it once housed children who had nowhere else to go. But 50 years ago, something unspeakable happened within its walls. The details had been lost to time, buried beneath whispers and warnings. Locals swore that anyone who dared enter never returned. The building was a skeletal ruin, its windows shattered, its roof sagging under the weight of decay. Yet, it seemed alive in its own malevolent way, as if it were watching, waiting for its next victim. The investigation. "We need to document it," Olivia said, her voice firm. She was the leader of a small group of urban explorers who specialized in abandoned places. With her were Liam, her skeptical boyfriend, Rachel, a history enthusiast fascinated by the orphanage's dark past, and Ethan, a tech wizard with a knack for capturing eerie phenomena on camera. Blackthorn Manor isn't just any abandoned building, Rachel explained as they stood before the iron gates. It's said to be cursed. The children, they never found peace. Perfect, Ethan said, adjusting his camera. Let's catch some ghosts. The gates creaked open as they pushed through, and an icy wind greeted them. The air felt heavier as they approached the orphanage, the towering structure casting long shadows in the fading daylight. The first encounter. Inside, the orphanage was a labyrinth of decay. Wallpaper peeled from the walls like shedding skin, and the floorboards groaned underfoot. The group split up to cover more ground, their flashlights cutting through the oppressive darkness. Olivia and Liam ventured into what had once been the dormitories. Rows of rusted beds stood in eerie silence, their frames twisted as if by some unseen force. "This place feels wrong," Liam muttered, his breath visible in the unnaturally cold air. "It's just an old building," Olivia replied, though her voice lacked conviction. Then they heard it, the faint sound of children's laughter echoing down the hall. It was distant but unmistakable. Olivia froze, her flashlight trembling in her hand. "Did you hear that?" she whispered. Liam nodded, his face pale. "We're not alone." The spirit's warning. Meanwhile, Rachel and Ethan explored the library. Dust-covered books lined the shelves, their spines bearing titles that hinted at dark secrets. Rachel pulled a journal from the shelf, its leather cover cracked with age. "It's a ledger," she said, flipping through the pages. Names of children, dates, and strange symbols. Ethan focused his camera on the book. "What kind of symbols?" Before Rachel could answer, the temperature dropped sharply. The pages of the ledger turned on their own, stopping at a page with the word "run" scrawled in bold letters. The room filled with the sound of whispers, overlapping and growing louder. Then, a shadow moved across the wall, shapeless yet menacing. Rachel grabbed Ethan's arm. "We need to go. Now." The dark passed. The group reconvened in the main hall, their faces etched with fear. "We heard laughter," Olivia said. "Children's laughter." Rachel held up the ledger. "And this? It's more than a ledger. It's a record of sacrifices." Liam frowned. "Sacrifices? What are you talking about?" "The orphanage wasn't just an orphanage," Rachel explained. "It was a place of ritual. The headmistress, she believed she could summon something that would grant her power. She used the children." A deafening crash interrupted her. The front door slammed shut, and the air grew thick with the stench of rot. The whispers returned, louder and more insistent. "We need to leave," Ethan said, his voice shaking. "The door," Olivia said, running to it. But no matter how hard they pushed, it wouldn't budge. "We're trapped," Liam said, his voice barely audible. The entity revealed. The group decided to head to the basement, hoping to find another way out. The stairs creaked under their weight, and the air grew colder with each step. At the bottom, they found a large, circular room. Symbols identical to those in the ledger were etched into the walls and floor, glowing faintly. At the center of the room stood a figure. It was a woman, her face obscured by a veil, her hands clutching a long, twisted staff. Her presence exuded malice. "Welcome," she said, her voice echoing unnaturally. "You've come to join the others." The group froze in terror as the symbols on the walls began to glow brighter. The whispers became screams, and ghostly figures of children appeared, their faces twisted in anguish. "What do you want?" Olivia demanded, her voice trembling. The woman's veil lifted, revealing empty eye sockets that oozed darkness. "Your souls. The fight for survival." Ethan raised his camera, the lens catching the glowing symbols. "The symbols, they're the key. We need to destroy them." Liam grabbed a piece of debris and began scratching at the nearest symbol. The moment it was defaced, the ghostly children let out piercing wails, and the figure recoiled. "Keep going," Olivia shouted. Rachel and Ethan joined in, frantically defacing the symbols. The room shook violently, cracks spreading across the walls and ceiling. The figure screamed, her form flickering like a dying flame. With one final strike, the last symbol was destroyed. The figure let out an unearthly shriek before dissolving into nothingness. The ghostly children faded, their expressions of anguish replaced with peace. The escape. The group stumbled out of the basement and into the dawn light. The orphanage groaned as if in pain before collapsing in on itself, leaving behind only a smoldering pile of rubble. They stood in silence, their bodies trembling, their minds reeling from what they had witnessed. "We need to tell someone," Rachel said. "Who would believe us?" Liam replied, his voice hollow. Ethan held up his camera. "I have proof." But when he reviewed the footage, it was blank. No whispers, no shadows, no symbols. Just static. Epilogue: The Lingering Curse. Years later, Blackthorn Manor became a distant memory, its story relegated to local folklore. But those who dared venture near its ruins swore they could still hear the faint sound of children's laughter, carried on the wind. The group never spoke of that night again. But each of them knew, deep down, that the orphanage's darkness hadn't been destroyed, only hidden, waiting for its next victims.